Hi, my name is Susan Coss. I am the co-founder of Mezcalistas, and I'm really excited to be here speaking with great folks about Tequileño, and as part of the Agave Collab, as we explore different issues and kind of talk about the passion behind what we do, and just that we have the experience, thanks to La Reina Raicilla, to be able to put together these programs. So I think I want to, begin by introducing myself again. As I said, the co-founder of Mezcalistas, which is a project that started in 2012. We began with a blog online, and it has grown into being a resource with a lot of information about mezcal. And we also have tasting events around the United States called México in a Bottle. I am the walking stereotype of how people in the United States get into mezcal. I went to Oaxaca in 2003, and I had the most magical time, and I had the opportunity to sip on mezcal. I fell completely in love with the place and decided afterward that I could never go back because it was perfect, utterly perfect. And by 2007, I had run out of mezcal that I had bought on the trip and decided I was ready to go back. And at that point, I studied Spanish and I got to know chefs. And they began taking me around to the different palenques when they were buying mezcal for the restaurants, for the house mezcals. And in hearing the stories of the producers and in tasting more of the product around, I fell deeper in love, and the project of Mezcalistas just came to be in 2012. And it's been an incredible honor and privilege to be able to tell the stories of the people on the ground who are making mezcal, and to be exploring other areas like here in Guadalajara, and meeting Raicilla makers and tequila makers, and just feeling so deeply the passion for what they do and making the spirits for those of us who are lucky enough to drink it. So I'm turning over to you.
Well, it's hard to follow up, Susan. But my name is Gina Castillo. I am living here in Guadalajara, so I'm really excited to be here in this showroom today. And thank you to La Reina for inviting us to be part of this podcast and getting this just agave love and this union, because even though we work for a tequila brand, it's great when people come to Mexico so that they can learn about all the other agave distillates, like Raicilla, like Bacanora, like tequila. So it's really fantastic. My journey started, I was just thinking right before this interview, like how long I've been in this industry. And I just realized that next year, 2024, I will have been 20 years working in the tequila industry. I was one of the original Jose Cuervo and Don Julio ambassadors. I had just been fresh out of college, and they offered me a job as an ambassador. And for me, that was like an honor, but also I was like so terrified of it. I was like, I'm an introvert. I like tequila, but I don't really, at that time, I didn't know good tequila. So I thought I didn't know what to think about it when they offered me the job. And I was like, no, thank you. And 3 months later, they were still like, Gina, you're the person for this job. And I'm so glad I said yes, because it's just become my life. It's something that I really enjoy talking to people about. I met my husband through this industry. I've worked I worked for originally Jose Cuervo and Don Julio, and then strictly for Don Julio for about 9 years. And then took a couple of years off just to be a mom. And then after that, El Tequileño found me. And I've been working for Tequileño for 5 years, and it's been it's been a ride, and it's been exciting to get people to not be afraid of tequila, to not have that same thing when they offered me to be a tequila ambassador. And I was like, I'm not sure, and to educate people and let them know how beautiful like agave distillates can be.
I mean, I will say that's probably the favorite part of my job, is just talking to somebody who's never had the experience of trying an agave spirit. And, you get that hesitancy up front, and it's just like, no, I promise, tell me what flavors you like. I am going to be able to find something that you will like to drink. And then when they get it and they see it, and they taste it, it's just like, it's a beautiful thing.
100%. 100%. I feel like there's a tequila for everybody or an agave distillate for everybody. And, once you find that one, then that'll open your eyes to all the other beautiful expressions of agave that there could be.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Oh, hi. So I'm Stefano Geni. I have slightly different journey in the world of tequila. I'm Scottish originally. So my journey started back in 2006. And really it was, I come from a background of hospitality. So from the age of 14, I've always worked in my school vacations and weekends and in bars and restaurants. And so I was already in hospitality and really tequila came by chance. It was something that we used to always have fun and drink rum, a lot of rum. And at that time, back in 2006, the owner of the bar I was a manager at, he came and they slapped us all in the back of the hand and said, you got to stop drinking the rum. The stock's down. And so we didn't want to stop the drinking because that was the fun part. We were having fun with our clients. And so we quickly converted over to tequila because we thought nobody drinks tequila. And just out of natural curiosity, we came across, there was only a few brands in Scotland at the time, kind of some of the major brands that are still around today. But there was a Blanco, there's a Reposado, there was a Añejo, and we had no understanding of what this meant. And so just general curiosity took me to look further. Mexico, for somebody who comes from Scotland, Mexico was always something very colourful and fun. We had a couple of Mexican restaurants in my hometown, and we had a little Mexican store that sold beans and jalapenos and dried chilies, and it was called Lupipintos. It's still there today. And they had a great tequila selection. So just kind of from this wanting to party with our friends and clients in a bar, it took me further to look into tequila, and then I fell in love with not just tequila, but really I fell in love with the culture of Mexico. And from there, it's now been 17 years I've been in this business. I'm very fortunate to kind of see the tequila business grow a lot over the past 17 years. And from there, I've learned a lot about other agave distillates and mezcals and Raicillas now and Bacanoras. And it's been really fun meeting people along the journey and introducing them to all the experiences that I've had. And it's never stops being fun. I think the journey is just starting, really. So.
I mean, well, thank God it never stops being fun.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot. I think back in 2012 when we launched the blog, I also did tastings out of my apartment in San Francisco, and it was pulling teeth to try and get people to come. It's just like, no, you've got to try this stuff. You have to try mezcal. It's so wonderful, and people are like, I don't know. And now it's like fast forward 11 years. And it's like, I can't stop people from being like, hey, you got any mezcal? Like, can I come over?
Yeah, for sure.
It just is, it's huge. And it's been amazing to see the growth happen. It's been amazing to see the exposure that Mexico now gets on the world stage and the respect that is coming to Mexico from people outside of Mexico, the appreciation of the culture. And it is interesting that Agave Spirits has, helped open the door to that. But like all of us, we're not from here. We're
promoting.
Yeah.
We're promoting.
It's like in our bones.
Yeah, 100%. I was just having a conversation with somebody the other day, and I was saying, like, it's Mexico's time. For a long time, Mexico has been doing everything that we love about Mexico as far as like the food, the culture, just this love of life and family and all of these wonderful things. And it's been always like being Mexican parents, like just of being a hard worker, but like not really appreciating all of the other aspects of the life. And I think that right now it is true, like tequila and mezcal have made people like look towards Mexico, tequila for the very first time overtook whiskey. So right now it's the second largest spirit in the world, which is amazing. And I think that's also what's made all these people want to get into the tequila game and look towards Mexico. And with that, like, the tourism, with it being the town of tequila, Stefan and I living here in Guadalajara, every single weekend, it's always, oh, I'm in town. I finally made it to tequila, which is really great that people are, flying out, coming, and, it's great taking them to agave fields and taking to distilleries and letting them embrace the culture. But Mexico is definitely like in the limelight right now.
I mean, we see it for sure. It's just a new generation, right? There's new generations that are interested in different things. It's
I mean, I feel it's yes, but it's also worldwide. And I think in all the industries, I think younger people, especially after COVID, it's hard to get people back to life and back to work and back to hard work. I do think that it's been underappreciated for a long time. The work of a jimador and a jornalero and all the hard work and hours. And, the sun here is intense and it's very, very hard work. So I think right now, the prices of tequila, of Raicilla, of mezcal are not reflective of all the hard work that goes into a bottle. And I think that, or what I hope will happen with the future, is that people are seeing all the hard work and really appreciating that, it's not like a vodka and it's not as easy to make tequila or mezcal or Raicilla or bacanora. And I hope that people will appreciate it and be willing to pay a little bit more so that it can go down all the way, to the jornalero and the jimador.
Yeah, I agree. I think the appreciation for all agave spirits is certainly growing globally, and I think that comes through education. People are uneducated, so they kind of didn't know, and for most countries, they look at Mexico as a developing country, so it's kind of considered everything has to be cheap, including like agave spirits, and they're wrong. If suddenly tequila or Raicilla or mezcal was made in France, nobody would think twice about the cost, or nobody would judge the cost. They'd be, a lot of work goes into that, but it's because it's Mexico, and I think thankfully over the past few years, consumers are starting to kind of see beyond the label and be educated more to understand the hard work that goes into all agave spirits.
Well, I mean, it's, I live in California, and there's a lot of talk about the growing California agave spirits industry. And I mean, it's growing because there was nothing. And so it's very easy to grow from there. But there, it's labor issues, because you can't ever get around the fact that the agave cannot be harvested by machine, and is harvested by hand. And that is a huge amount of work. And that people who have been harvesting agave have not been, as you said, respected or paid at the same, level of what goes into that product.
Yeah.
And it is, I think, as we have all worked in promoting and in educating people, getting people to understand why there's such a huge cost difference. That was like the first hurdle to overcome. And the introduction of higher end Mexican restaurants in the United States, I think, helped in that process of showing people that there's this amazing stuff and we need to value it in the same way that we value, other products. But I think Scotch is Scotch and whiskey are perfect examples of how to get people to value agave spirits on that same level, so that, it is not unheard of to buy a bottle for $150 or $200.
Yeah, well, I see in a lot of chat rooms people question prices of different agave spirits. Oh, this one's $500, and why would we ever pay this and whatever? But I never see anybody question the price of Papu Van Winkle when it comes out, or 50-year-old Macallan. No, it just kind of is accepted, whatever price tag is put on those products. So I always find it kind of funny because the perception's slightly different versus other spirits, but that will change in time, I would think. And you just mentioned there agave spirits in growing agave in California, and I've seen this. I've seen this in Australia. They're planting agave and they're kind of industrializing it, which is good. I know in Israel, I just read an article in Israel, they're about to grow, and obviously California, and I'm sure there's other places that will start to grow, and I welcome it. It's always interesting to see new agave spirits and kind of new presentations and innovations from different countries. The only thing that for me in my head, and I wonder, well, I think with these new projects is one thing about all agave spirits in Mexico is it's not just the spirit, it comes with the culture. Okay, so that's something I think that will be missing from all of these new projects is beyond the label. Is the culture that comes with it, the history, the heritage behind all these agave spirits here in Mexico.
And the families and the stories. I mean, there's a lot of, it could still be traced back to a lot of families, especially where we go into the Raicilla world or to the Bacanora world. And it's really fantastic that you are telling your story of your family through a brand, and you're supporting a family, and that it supports so many people as well. Like the amount of people that touch an agave spirit versus any other spirit is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it is very true. And I think that intentionality with other projects happening around the world is something to really look at as people are, considering like getting into it or buying a bottle. It is, we get a lot of hate for the California projects. And I think that's just due to the history that has existed between Mexico and California, and that California was once Mexico. But, you cannot get away from that legacy of why it's different here in Mexico, why the production is different here, because of the source material itself, the agave, and the role that agave has played for thousands of years in Mexico, and that it has been a crucial part of buildings, like just all what it has been used for.
Mm-hmm.
I always talk about it, like we talk whole animal butchery, and I always say, well, it's whole agave, because nothing goes to waste. Everything is used, and it plays a very crucial part. And the spirit made from the agave is kind of that last thing that it's giving us from the plants. Sure,
yeah. You go to these little towns and you see all those red adobe brick with the agave fibers and through the bricks, acting like insulation. It's just, if every part of the plant has a purpose.
In the years you've been in the tequila world, are you a blanco, reposado, añejo?
It changes over the years. I remember when I first started drinking tequila, I was big into whiskey. I loved Scotch whiskey. It just never loved me back, but I always loved it. And so when I first started drinking tequila, I was always going towards the añejos because it was like the flavors that I was the most used to. And over time, then it became a reposado, and you couldn't get me to drink an añejo or a blanco. It was more just reposado. I really loved the Don Julio reposado at the time. Well, a lot of the reposados. Herradura reposado before 2006 was also like one of my favorites. And there were so many reposados that I really loved. And lately, it's just been blanco. and Blanco is what I typically will always drink, whether I drink it neat or sometimes, I'll just put some soda water in it or just a margarita. I mean, just a Tommy style margarita is still one of my favorite go-to on a hot day. So, but always Blanco.
Yeah, for me, I'm a Blanco person as well. I just feel it's the kind of true expression of any agave distillate. I think that when you taste the Blanco, you really you taste where it came from, and you can taste the process that goes into it. And obviously, we know that I'm from Tequileño, and kind of one of my favorites is our Tequileño Blanco.
We have a bottle right
That's
here.
right here. This Tequileño Blanco.
Here, I'll serve some.
Why? A couple of reasons. It's again, it kind of goes beyond the label. It just has. I have fond memories of this tequila from my first trips. My first trips to Mexico, and used to go to a little bar in the town of Tequila called La Capilla, and this was a product that was always poured there in their signature drink, which was called La Batanga. And so whenever I came, we always used to go there, and then I would fill my suitcase. My record was 37. Yeah, my record was 37 bottles that I got back to the UK, and then we'd sell that drink, the La Batanga, in the bar that I ran. So I already loved the brand, and I love this product, and I think what I love about this product is there's obviously different types of tequila, and there's 100% agave and there's mixto tequila, and this is a mixto, and so mixto comes in the US and globally with a lot of bad perception about being low quality and not that great, and this was kind of the this was the cat amongst the pigeons in the mixto category. It was something that ruffled things up because it was known as a really high quality mixto tequila. It still is to this day, and it's one of the top selling tequilas in the region of Jalisco, which is the main tequila producing region. So it just shows the respect that people have around this product. So fast forward all these years, it's I don't know if it's fate, I don't know what it was, but I end up working with the brand that I loved so many years ago. But overall, Blancos are my go-to. I think it's just really a true representation of any agave distillate.
Salud. Yes. Salud.
I right now, as he was saying that about Blanco tequilas being a true representation, I was and I had just mentioned the Tommy's Margarita. When I also lived in San Francisco from 2009 to 2012 or 13, I believe. And the first time I went to Tommy's and met Julio Bermejo, and he made me a flight of different margaritas, but they were all made with different Blanco tequilas. And it was just wow, to me, because coming from living in Chicago, they did yet at that time. Now they do, so don't get upset. But at the time, they didn't know how to make a proper margarita. And you would cover it up with a bunch of triple sec, and you didn't really get the flavor of the tequila coming through. And with the Tommy style margarita, just made with tequila, lime, and agave nectar, the tequila was able to shine through. Mm-hmm. And I remember that flight of margaritas really just blew my mind. I've been working in the industry for 20 years, but I'm always learning. There's still so many things I don't know. And I remember that being a really learning experience for me, knowing how tequila can taste differently, even though you use the same ingredients, but every tequila has its own, flavor profile.
And absolutely. I mean, I am detouring from Agave Spirits. The other week was National Whiskey Sour Day in the United States. And I was like, well, I'm going to mix it up a little bit, use Mexican whiskeys in it. And when I was young, I drank whiskey sours and amaretto sours because that's what you do when you're young and you don't know anything. And it was really interesting playing with the corn flavors and balancing that, with the citrus and, using piloncillo syrup in it. And it gave it a completely different flavor than any regular whiskey sour I had ever had. And so it's just like, now I feel like I need to go down the rabbit hole of what's next, Mexican gin and tonics, and playing with different gins. But, people do have a tendency of just blanket saying, like all tequila tastes the same, or I've had tequila before, or yeah, I've had mezcal before. And it's like, no, it's like you had something that you might not have liked, but like you had said, there's something for everybody out there. And I, recently had a delicious cocktail that was made with a Baquiche mezcal from Mihuatlan, San Luis Amatlan, in Mihuatlan, Oaxaca. And, and part of me is like, oh my God, why would you ever use this for a cocktail? And it turned out to be one of the most delicious margaritas I have ever had. And it was just because it had that minerality to it. And I'm like, I'm never going to get into the habit of using a mezcal like this, but it was just like kind of mind-blowing of just how much flavor you get out of it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I was very much tequila driven for so many years, and mezcal, I used to see a few things on the shelf here and there, and really Ron Cooper was the one that opened my eyes to more when he kind of started pushing Del Maguey globally, and since then, come across so many different mezcal producers. I mean, and we're lucky to have a good friend in the Northern Mountains. Mezcal obviously is showcasing so many different flavors and terroirs around Mexico. And then, again, so it was tequila and mezcal was kind of in my library in here, and then suddenly Raicilla comes along. and
just when you think.
I didn't know anything about Raicilla until really we came to Guadalajara, right? I mean, I didn't know anything. When we came down here, we traveled down, and for whatever reason, we flew into Puerto Vallarta. I think that the flight was cheaper or whatever. We decided to drive from Vallarta to Tequila Town. And of course, we go past Mascota from San Sebastian del Oeste and through Mascota. And there we came across a few little tavernas on the road, but we didn't know anything about it. And then we come to Guadalajara and we start seeing like Raicilla popping up all over the place. It's this local spirit that people are really kind of championing, and the bars, all the kind of craft cocktail bars, everybody had some kind of Raicilla expression, and we got involved in the bar, and next thing we've got a bunch of Raicillas, and I guess that just kind of my natural curiosity again made me have to find out more about, because at this point I knew all about tequila. I worked in the tequila business. I knew about mezcal. I have a lot of friends in mezcal, but Raicilla was this new shiny toy, and it's been very interesting kind of learning about the history, because it's not just a new product, right? It's been around for years, many years, and for me it was just like, wow, this has been here in Jalisco, not like so close, and people are making this great spirit. So that's kind of how we ended up being introduced to La Arena, from kind of research and getting in touch with Juan Pablo and Ana, and seeing what they were doing, and kind of celebrating the history and heritage behind Raicilla overall, and also
but are we bringing a lifestyle behind it as well?
But also bring it into kind of popular, lifestyle, which is kind of fun. It's a fun angle on something so traditional. It kind of, what I say is, brings a spotlight of Raicilla to the younger generation, and getting them to,
and tying it with all these different just fashion things. And the last time we saw you, Susan, was in the little town where there was like a fashion show, and having a fashion show with all those little children there, and they're like, wow, like how did this come to my town?
Like models and everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's really, the lifestyle gets a lot of pushback from people. And, for me, it has been interesting to see how La Reina has been so successful in kind of taking that concept of art is art is art, and, working to put this, very Pueblo-based spirit on a level for people to understand the work that goes into it, the quality, the legacy, the skill, just as with, the beautiful clothes that are here,
exactly,
the boots, so that people can understand the connection between all of it. And I have, it has been interesting and fun to see these guys grow over time and how they have evolved from when they participated in one of our Mexico in a Bottle events in Los Angeles. God, was it 2018 or 2019? And Juan Pablo brought, a surfboard on the train coming up from San Diego that was made from quiotes to kind of showcase there at the event. But, even then it was like, we know that we have to link these different things together for people to understand. And I think when you have people that are kind of trailblazing that way, it's, it opens the door for other makers who can also come in and say, this is a beautiful crafted spirit.
And it is art, as you said.
It is art. It is art. I mean, I always loved that, Ron Cooper of Del Maguey was the one who really talked about liquid art. And obviously he was an artist himself, and that is how he saw mezcal. And on just a funny side story, in 2003, on my first trip to Oaxaca, I randomly ended up at his house in Teotitlan del Valle, and he did an impromptu mezcal tasting for us. It's 2003, so nobody knows what mezcal is in the United States. And it was such an interesting introduction, to the spirits. And then, fast forward to when we started the blog, I would always joke that there were 3 people that read it when we first launched. And that was my mother, the co-founder's wife, and Ron Cooper, because nobody else was writing about mezcal. And he would send emails correcting information and everything. But I met him in 2003, and then I did not see him in person again until I think it was 2014 or 15. And without Del Maguey, the mezcal industry would have been much slower.
Well, yeah,
in accessing the U.S. market.
Yeah, he really pushed the category, and he made it fun, right? So he not only was he kind of communicating the tradition and the hard work and the skill that went into producing each of these mezcals and these small pueblos that he found them in, but he also was very, very clear and then it's fun. Yeah. Let's drink this and enjoy it, but let's have fun.
Yeah.
Let's not be stuffy and whatever. So that's always what I remember about my introduction to mezcal, and I think what La Reina are doing with Raicilla as well is, there's other Raicillas and traditional, but I think La Reina injecting a bit of fun into it, and just connecting with that younger generation that really will be the people that develop this category and continue developing tequila, mezcal, or bacanora, or other agave spirits that are and other spirits in Mexico over the years to come.
I mean, in Oaxaca, it was interesting. Mezcal had been dying out in terms of how it was seen by, a number of people. And it was like, oh, my grandfather drank that. I don't really have much interest in it. And I attribute the success and kind of the rebirth of mezcal in Oaxaca among younger people of the work that Felix Monterosa did with Mezcales Quiche. His family had always been in the industry, but he was an art student. And, he and Assis Cortez and a few others who were art students were like started bringing mezcal into that world, and it was, then once the arts
And their labels,
I know, and the labels are beautiful, and you saw the same things happen in Mexico City in terms of where it bubbled up, and art was always very much a part of kind of driving interest in and reviving interest in it. It doesn't surprise me at all that we're sitting in a showroom
Yeah.
with these beautiful clothes talking about agave spirits.
clothes and hats and boots and art,
Yeah.
jewelry.
I've got my eye on a dress.
And we talked about our favorite spirits. Do you have, or favorite state where mezcal comes?
The mezcal TO is just gigantic. There are 10 states and municipalities in 10 states that can certify for mezcal. For so long, most of my experiences around mezcal were in Oaxaca and traveling through Oaxaca. And I really decided prior to the pandemic that I had to get out and explore other regions. And so I've been ticking off, like getting to different regions to meet producers there, to understand more the production styles, because they do vary so much. Not just from state to state, but from, pueblo to pueblo on what the traditions. And so it's always so hard to say, do I have a favorite, or what do I appreciate? I will say, I know when I am sipping on a Karwinski that comes from like the Sierra Sur and the 5 different regions around in the municipality of Mihuatlan. That is a flavor that is so intense. It's filled with so much minerality and herbaceousness that it's just like, oh yeah, I know where this is coming from. And I like the flavor profiles of that. But I have to say, Samianas are really kind of stepping in to like a favorite agave of mine. They have so much flavor, and it's not so much that there's a lot of complexity with the flavors, but they're just so big and kind of bold. And it is an agave that lends itself well to different ABVs. So I've had delicious ones, like Puntas, 55%, all the way down to one that was a 27%, that yes, you could tell that it wasn't full strength, but it still retained the flavor of the agave in it. And, so I'm curious to sip on more of those. And, on a different note, I used to be a tequila drinker, and then I got into mezcal. And in that time period, as I was exploring mezcal and agaves there, a lot changed in the world of tequila, and diffusers were introduced, and, there's just a flavor change. And so when I would go back and sip on a tequila, I'd be like, okay, this is interesting. And so, I used to drink Cazadores, and things have changed with Cazadores and the flavor. And I realized after trying so many different types of agave spirits made from so many different types of agaves, that the flavor profile of the blue agave, the Tequileño, was like, it didn't have some of the same flavors to it that I was appreciating in other agaves. And all of that changed on my last trip when I was here in Guadalajara and had the chance to get out and visit different distilleries and taste some really amazing tequilas. And so I have this running joke for an article that's like, hey, tequila, it's not that bad,
And process matters.
Process really matters.
And the maturity of the agave.
Every agave spirit, I think it starts with the agave
Yep.
If you get mature agave now, of course, people's kind of perception of mature agave may differ, but I think from what I've seen, mature agave is minimum 5 years, better to be 6 years and above for blue agave, and everybody knows, really, producers know when each agave type is ready, and it makes a big difference. And I always use the analogy when I'm talking about agaves. I always use a green banana and a banana with black spots. Or, if you just taste the difference between the two, one may be mature, but it's not mature. You taste the difference, and banana with black spots certainly is richer and sweeter and more complex. And I think the same thing applies to all varieties of agave. And if you start with good agave, you're making a good, and then your process is good. You end up with a real gem. There are a lot of gems in the agave spirits world, but
I mean, it's been interesting to see the explosion around additive-free tequila and the growing interest in having something that is labeled additive-free. And there was a great conversation about this at Tales of the Cocktail recently in New Orleans. And, for those of us who aren't in the tequila industry, in the mezcal industry, well, you have to declare what's in the mezcal. It's part of the NOM. And so it's just like, oh, okay, that's interesting, how the NOM with tequila is structured. But that it's become a lot more of a common practice as diffusers have become more ubiquitous. And the concern of a few people on the panel with additives is that it becomes the norm. And these are the flavors that people now look to in tequila, rather than kind of those more traditional flavors that are more reflective of the agave than of the additives.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of, again, it's a bit subjective. So it is. I mean, it's the producers of those tequilas will say that's what tequila should taste of. So I think that, again, it just comes down to education, and additives is a good topic, but really I just think a well-made tequila is a well-made tequila, or a well-made Raicilla is a well-made Raicilla. It really is. It really comes back to process, and all these other things don't matter. If your process is good, you could have a great tasting tequila with additives.
Mm-hmm.
You can, or and vice versa. It's just, the industry's just growing very fast in the world of tequila, and thankfully there's still a lot of great brands out there that are making great tequilas, and the same in mezcal. I mean, mezcal's growing fast.
Mezcal is growing fast.
And I'm seeing a lot of industrialization in there as well. But there's still hundreds of great brands that are doing things the artisanal way, and the same with Raicilla.
Yeah,
it was good.
It's true. I would say, the chisme, as mezcal is due for an updated NOM. I think tequila is as well, because
it's been since 2012. Yeah, so over 10 years.
Yeah, since 2017 for mezcal. And there, are growing rumors that there will be an allowance for a mixto category.
In mezcal.
And, there's the pros and the cons to it. A lot of people would say, well, there are already people who are using a lot of sugarcane in the production. So get it on a bottle. Like, get that out there. And other people that would be like, we can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, but for me, I just think it's, I don't know how do you put this into standard. I just think in any spirit, just a well-made spirit is a well-made spirit, right? And however you make it, but it's just it's people's opinions are different. Like, this is great, this is whatever. So it's again, it's just my opinion. But from my years in the industry, when you taste things, you know it's one. You know when you've got a gem in your hand. You know, you taste and go.
And also the way it makes you feel the next day.
Yes, I think that is very important.
Well, I was just going to maybe serve a little bit of platinum to finish off. Just speaking of...
I just wanted some more ancestral, to be honest.
Bottles right there.
To wrap up, we'll have a little La Reina Ancestral, which was one of the gems that I really enjoyed from when we were up in Atenguillo. And I think our last point really was about promoting agave spirits to the world, right? And I think we naturally do that and enjoy. I certainly do. I enjoy sharing the culture and the history and heritage of all agave spirits to the world. And now that I've been introduced to Raicilla as well, to add to my list of agave spirits, has been a real great experience so far. Getting up there and learning what's going on and seeing what's the locals are doing with Raicilla and seeing their vision of where they want to take it for the future. So it's nice to enjoy one.
All right, salud, and for agave spirits uniting the world.
Exactly. I always say agave spirits are the pretext and the entry into just being able to know a culture and meet people on a completely different level than I ever would have. And I can't imagine ever being able to enjoy and meet and see the things that I have seen here in Mexico were it not for agave spirits.
All right. Salute to that.
What a way to end.